There we go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Rock for Him podcast. I'm Jeremy, aka the Big Boy, and with me is my brother Jason Sanchez Vukoski. How's it going, bro?
Doing good. Doing good. Excited for tonight.
I am too. So we had a guest in mind, uh, but unfortunately he had a family issue and had to reschedule. So we're going to hear from the newest member of our crew tonight. This is Ryker. Ryker, how's it going, bro?
Hey, I'm doing very, very well. How are you guys?
We are
Doing
good.
good. I gotta say, tonight is kind of a special night for me. Like I have done podcasts with pastors. I've done podcasts with deacons from my church. I've done it with friends from my church, but now I get to do it with someone I actually taught in children's church, someone that I've literally watched grow up from a little kid to the man sitting behind the mic today. Like, I gotta tell you, Riker, I mean, just coming from a guy that's watched you grow up, I am so incredibly proud of the man that you are and the man that you're becoming.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I think it's yeah, very, very interesting position to be in, and you never gave up the chance to talk about how you taught me in children's church.
I don't, because I find it hilarious
Yeah, it really is really
that
cool.
here I am, I'm at 50, I'm well, almost 50, and I get to sit there and call you, not only my brother in Christ, but my friend, my
Yeah,
co-host. And it's so odd to me. It
yeah. If it
just,
makes you feel any better, I turned 20 in less than a week.
yeah, that doesn't make me
So,
feel any better.
so
So, for those who don't know who Riker is, Riker, can you tell them who you are?
Yeah, so like I said, yeah, I'm Riker. I go to the same church as Jason. Currently I am a member, same member of the same church. I'm currently working with the youth as a youth leader. And I'm also or I guess the drummer at the church right now. There used to be more, now it's just me. So I do music with the church, and I've I've been going to that church literally. My parents moved there right before I was born, and we'll get into that a little bit tonight as I go into my testimony. But I grew up there. I grew up knowing Jason. Like you said, he taught me in Sunday school. So, um, and then recently he presented the idea of this podcast. He knew I was really into music. I loved music and playing music and stuff like that. And he came up to me. He was like, "Look, I've got this podcast where I talk to uh either local or indie and lesser known um, Christian rock and metal bands. You should check it out. Maybe do some production stuff for us." I then met Jeremy, and yeah, and then I started helping out. So
Mm. So, for those that are watching online right now, if you have a question that you want to throw at Riker, go ahead and just post it in our chat, and we will,
mhm.
any one of us will answer the question. But if you want to throw something at Riker, I'm sure he'll be able to handle it. But
I'll do my
Riker, why
best.
don't can you just tell us your testimony? How did you come to know Christ?
Mm. Yeah, so um, it's it's interesting. I even when I was like becoming a member of my church and getting baptized and stuff like that, I believe I was saved. I'll get into that in a minute, but it's an interesting uh kind of story because I did not know my testimony really at all, even though I kind of thought I did. I never really like thought about it until literally this past year. I was living in Argentina at a school, and there they kind of like really pushed me to understand and know my testimony and who I was in Christ and how I came to know Christ. And so now I feel I have a really good understanding of how I came to know Christ, which is and how I grew closer to Christ over the years, which is really cool. So starting just to give a little bit of context onto bit of how I was raised and why some of the things that happened. I typically start with talking about my parents and kind of how they grew up because it's pretty important, I think.
Absolutely.
Um, my dad, um, grew up where his parents were very, very, uh, passionate about their work. You know, they were very, very work focused and building their business. And so my dad, grew up on the job site working, very harsh environment, grew up with construction guys and so and parents who were at the time, pretty focused on their business and less so focused um on helping raise him. Um so that much more harsh environment than most kids grow up in. And then my mom also grew up in a harsher environment, but in like a completely different way. She grew up kindergarten through college at Bob Jones University in the 90s. Um, so for those that know, it's pretty infamous for being strict and
Yep.
overbearing. And my mom's parents were a part of the school and a part of the missions board of the school. And so she kind of grew up not being able to breathe without permission, like super harsh and strict. And so she grew up pretty like emotionally stunted just because she couldn't like feel anything in that environment. So my parents meet, they get married, um, they have me, um, and it was a struggle at first, definitely because my parents were having to learn. Like my dad, very harsh, like mission focused and like very yeah, just pretty uh harsh. And my mom, who like didn't understand the emotional side of her at all, was at that time probably like an emotional child, you know, struggling to handle that. And then so then I was born and I was a handful because I was a very emotional kid. Um, but growing up first years of my life, especially at Faith at the church we go to, were amazing. And I think I was a very I'd say naive kid, not in like a super bad way, but like just like a pretty like, you know, I was happy to go with the flow and do whatever and didn't really notice everything. So that kind of outlook, I think really was super beneficial to me, especially because it allowed me to find Christ at a very young age, going to Sunday school like with Jason, him teaching me and other Sunday school teachers like that. Um, I learned about Christ, you know, um, learned about what he had done for me, and I was just genuinely blown away by the things that he had done for me and the sacrifice he had laid out for me, and I became like so like enamored with this God, and I remember having a conversation with my parents when I was pretty young, like they were reading a book to me about the crucifixion. It was like a children's book, but it was about the crucifixion and just pretty honest with how it was and what it was like. And I remember asking or saying, that didn't really hurt him though, right? Because he's God. Like I couldn't imagine that God could be like hurt, be in pain. So they,
Right.
then walked me through like, look, it was exceptionally, cruelly, excruciatingly painful, like that's what he did for us. And so that definitely laid the groundwork for me to when I was around 6 or 8. I was talking with my aunt, um, and she was just asking me a lot of questions about it, how I felt about that. I expressed my genuine love for Christ and the things that he had done for me. And I believe I was saved then when talking with my aunt about that because I genuinely had just such a love and excitement to learn about and to be loved by God. Um, so one of the greatest moment of my life, absolutely, and for all time will be. Um, I think Satan knew that I was saved, and he was not happy about it because he didn't make it easy for me or my family after that. So fast forward a couple of years, um, I'm starting to have some struggles with my dad. You know, we were button heads, starting to really clash for various reasons. You know, my dad would be the first to say he's not perfect. So we've worked through a lot that he knows and he's asked for forgiveness for, and I have done the same because I am also not perfect. And so it was on both sides. Um, but it wasn't helped. Uh, as when I was around 11, we got the call that my cousin had died. And so, um, you know, that's pretty significant because we were close with them, my aunt and uncle and him, who was pretty young at the time. But I can't say it like really impacted me, but it did really impact my mom, who like it was really bad. Like she like medical depression levels of not being able to handle it. Which I'm sure was not helped by, her upbringing where she didn't really understand her extreme emotions, wasn't able to. So that
Yeah.
was really big deal. Um, so yeah, there was a period of where, yeah, my mom was a little bit tapped out because like she was so brokenhearted over it. And then about 10 months later, uh, probably one of the most influential moments of my life is there was this family, and Jason knows them. And I think Jeremy, you may have probably heard about this as well. There was a family at our church called the Quazeranos. Um,
Sounds familiar.
yeah, they they lived right across from us. So we had a house here. They lived in a neighborhood right next to us. We could see their house from our house. They went to our church. Our families were in particular super close. Like Luke, their oldest, was my best friend in the whole world. Like we were super close with them. We were always hanging out, and me and Luke were always staying the night at each other's houses, and uh, we were always together. And so one day they didn't show up for church, and um, so we were like, yeah, that's weird. We didn't get any calls or anything. So and we went home. We were having some people over for lunch. We saw sirens or heard sirens and saw lights and police cars and fire trucks and stuff at their house. But nothing was burning. We didn't really know what was going on. My mom was asking people. We couldn't really figure it out. You know, didn't know what was going on. So I was super worried. We were all super worried, obviously. So I was in my parents' room where we could out the window see their house, and I was just for hours probably just praying and praying and praying and praying that God would keep them safe and that he would, you know, put a hedge of protection around them and that, that they'd be okay. So a few hours later, I'm in the room with my mom. It's just us two. Um, she gets a call. She starts breaking down a little bit. Um, And I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? And she, kind of lets me know, like she says there was an accident. The whole family was taken, just like that. So I don't remember super well what happened next. My mom fills in the blanks for me, but I went kind of psycho mode a little bit. I collapsed. I was like screaming and kicking and wailing and like fully animal freak out mode. Um, I couldn't handle it. So they put me in my room so I could calm down because they didn't like I couldn't they helped me calm down a little bit, put me in my room so they could figure some stuff out. Um yeah. Through all of that, there was a little thought in the back of my head that wasn't super prominent, but I realize now that it was. It was very important. This little thought of like God didn't listen to me. I had done all this praying and seeking him and been putting all these petitions up to him, but he didn't listen. So that's pretty significant for a young kid of like 11, 12 years to be thinking. Um, but part of the reason I feel very strongly that I was at this point already saved is because despite having those thoughts, I knew that if I pointed at God and said, "You were wrong, you messed up, you did this and that," if I did that, I would be wrong. And I would have to reconcile that in my own heart because I knew God was perfect and I knew his character. And obviously, he would not do anything to truly hurt me. So if I leveled that at him, I'd be wrong. I'd have to put that to bed. And I didn't want to do that, obviously. I wanted to be angry. So unfortunately, I took all of that hatred and anger and just wrath that I had, and I turned that inward at myself and outward at my dad. So next 4 or 5-ish years were pretty rough. My relationship with my dad pretty much deteriorated fully. Um, I started getting really badly bullied in school, which didn't help. Um, so yeah, the feelings of anger and depression and just darkness and, you know, self-harm, uh, were all present during this time. Um, and that was pretty rough. Um, there was a long period of time where I wanted to kill myself. I thought about it before I went to bed every night. I thought about it when I woke up. Thought about it when people were making fun of me at school. You know, thought about it a lot. But by the grace of God, I did not act upon anything like that. So the darkness did not prevail, though, and God is persistent to reclaim. So one thing that is not only thematic to this show, but also very, very important in my life that helped me push through this was music. So when I was about 9, I started drumming for the first time. And through that time and past 12 and through all these very, very dark years of my life, through all of that, I was still drumming for years, years. I sucked. I was terrible. I wasn't good at all. I don't know why I kept going. It wasn't me because I am the kind of person, if I'm not good at something, if I'm doing it for enjoyment and I'm not good at it, I'm going to stop doing it. But I didn't with that. And I think there's a huge reason for that. So I kept doing it, kept learning and learning. And one of the first things that mindset changes that I had that helped me to start move past all of this was, wait a minute. What if God wants me to be his drummer, not just a drummer? What if he has a purpose for it? What if there's a meaning for doing this and having this skill and learning this thing? So kind of obvious to most people, but to me, it was a really big deal and a completely new concept.
Right.
So, yeah, thoughts like that. And then men like Pastor West that was at our church and Pastor Mike, who is currently one of my, closest mentors, and uh, they started helping me to move past this, this kind of stuff out. And when I was about 18 or 17, I heard about a program called the Bilingual Bible Program at Word of Life, Argentina, that would help me learn more about God, spend time away from home, figuring stuff out, and everything like that. So when I was 18, yeah, 18, last year,
Right.
I went to Argentina. I stayed there for a year, uh, studying the word, doing missions trips, learning Spanish, and really taking time to intentionally spend time uh, learning about God and my relationship with Him. And it is genuinely, hands down, one of the most impactful times of my life. I learned so much, and it was very difficult. It was so difficult at times, but it was um so beneficial to me and to my walk with Christ. And so now I'm back. I got back about 5 months ago, I think. Um, that was about right. Um, I'm yeah, working towards being more involved with ministry and being very intentional with my time with Christ and um working to be closer with him. And I'm not like totally past everything, you know? Like there are
Yeah.
still a lot of these things that I really struggle with and these feelings of um anger and depression and things like that that creep up. But God gives me the tools to overcome it, and I've through this time been able to, fully forgive my dad, and he's been able to forgive me, and me and him have a very healthy relationship now, and you know, so yeah, um,
Mm.
that's kind of where I'm at now. That's the annals of history for my life so far. Only 2 decades, so got a few more to
Yeah.
go.
I just want to fill in a little bit of that whole Quasarano story. And I've told this on here before about my relationship with them. Len was my best friend. We played a game, a mobile game, and the boys would every night send me a message on this game. Good night, Mr. Bukowski. Talk to you tomorrow. And that first night I didn't get that message almost destroyed me. Like I remember that Sunday morning you were talking about because Len was supposed to run the soundboard.
Hmm.
Daniel had just started at Faith a few months before that. And he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Len's supposed to be here. He's not here. We can't get a hold of him. Would you mind running sound?" So I'm sitting back at the soundboard as the band is, warming up. I'm texting Len like, "Dude, get out of bed, you loser. Come on, get out of bed. You're supposed to be here. Answer your phone." And went through the day, and I distinctly remember when I heard I was at my house, my in-laws were over, and Daniel called me and he said, "Hey, can you step away for a minute? I need to talk to you." So I went into our room, into our bedroom, and I was talking to him. And when he told me, much like you, I literally dropped my phone and collapsed. Like I couldn't control myself. I literally was in a ball sobbing. Jen came running in. She's like, "What's going on?" She grabbed my phone. She talked to Daniel. And I got to tell you, your dad was the one that came over to my house to check on me.
Hmm.
He came over, and I don't know, you didn't mention this, so I don't even know if you
I
remember it.
I do I think I know what you're about to say. And I was gonna bring it up.
Your dad came in and he put his arms around me and he just broke down sobbing. And he said to me, "My boy was supposed to be at their house tonight." I was like, "What?" And he said, "Riker wanted to spend the night over there." And we said no. And here we are.
Yep. And that's something I was gonna mention. Yeah, I forgot to mention. I normally do, but yeah, I was supposed to be there that night. The fact that I wasn't is truly a miracle because they didn't say no. It's not something they really did
They
because
didn't? You did.
we lived right there, you know. It was never a bother. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I said, your dad literally, you know, had me in like this bear hug, and he was just like, "My boy was supposed to be there." And I think for him, there was the grief of losing them, but there was also the joy that he didn't lose you.
yeah. Yeah,
And yeah,
I truly did not appreciate the significance of that at first. Because eventually, because like there were so many emotions going on in my head, So I didn't really think about it at first, but eventually I did remember, oh my gosh, I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That led to a lot of feelings of like kind of like survivor's guilt, probably a bit different, but I really like I really wish I had been there. Like I wanted to had have been there. Wanted to have died because it was like it would have been so much easier, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Trust me, I get it. You said you felt that anger. I felt that anger too. Like I physically pushed away from people at church because I was so angry at God. And I'm like, here you give me this best friend, someone
mm,
that I could call. Len used to just show up at my house. No, it just he would hear me talking about something. He'd show up. All right, I'm here to help you. I'm like, never even asked. He's like, you
sounds
didn't
like
have
it.
to.
Sounds about right.
Him and your dad showed up at my house to help me move a refrigerator, like out of the blue. They heard me talking about calling my father-in-law, and all of a sudden, 2 hours later, there's your dad and Len standing at my door. Like, we're here right now. Let's just move this fridge. Now, we almost ended your dad at that point because Len stuck him in between the door frame and the refrigerator.
Oh gosh.
But we got him out clearly.
That's
But
great.
yeah, I do get where you're saying, that you had that anger because I felt that exact same way. So,
Yeah.
That's a
so
powerful testimony.
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I hated it for a long time, but you know, it's not mine, it's God's testimony
yeah,
in my life, not my testimony in God's life, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm
Mm.
proud to be able to share it and hopeful that it can help other people who are going through a similar thing, you know? Um, I'm able to, I have several friends who also have had a problem with self-harm or cutting themselves or, you know, depression in that way or anger over losing someone or stuff like that. And I've been
Yeah.
able to like relate because I get it. Um, so yeah, it's been powerful in my life.
Mm. All right, let's put a little bit of fun into this, and you know that we
Yeah.
always we always ask the silly questions of
Oh,
our
for sure, for
guests.
sure.
So I'm going to ask you, knowing that you're a drummer, you're so heavily into music, and your one day goal is to be in, the music scene from what we've talked about. If someone were to pull up to your door right now, pound on the door and be like, Riker, get your kit, throw it in the van, you're going to come on tour with us. Who would you want it to be? Like, who is that band that you're just like, I would have to drop everything and go on tour with these guys?
Like any band or Christian band?
Any band. It does. You can give me the top three. I want to know, who would you be like, I can't say no.
I am not nearly the drummer that Dom Howard is, the drummer from Muse. But
Okay.
if Muse showed up, they're my favorite band ever. If they showed up, I would not be able to say no. That would be very, very cool. Um, Honestly, because I also listen to a lot of Christian music, Christian metal and stuff like that. A big one would be like Red. Red would
Mm.
be super cool. They're the first metal band I ever started listening to. Our family had like a little old, like really old iPod, like teeny tiny little thing, and it had a bunch of Red albums on there. And that's the first time I ever was exposed to metal. Um, so that would be really cool. Um, what's a good third one? Because there are a lot of bands that would be very cool to do stuff with. Um,
Tricord.
no, I don't think I'd ever have the chance to do that. Also, Jason, I think your microphone is dying a little bit over there. Maybe check your connection a little. Um, anyways, no, maybe like the Bravery or something, something a little bit more like chill and groovy. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, probably that'd probably be my lineup.
Sweet.
Nice.
Sweet. So I know you're here now. You're helping us, which we absolutely love and we are so thankful for. But
Absolutely.
what, where do you want to be in a year? What are your plans? What do you see coming up for you?
Um, um, right now, I'm just trying to, while I'm single, don't have a family, trying to work and, you know, build up some savings to be able to support a family. Because that's one of my big goals. Um, actually last night, and some people were laughing about it, but it was honestly a serious, you know, request. I asked that my life group be praying that I find find a good partner, find a wife. Um, because yeah, it's a huge desire of mine to have a family and um to help lead a family, raise up warriors for Christ. Um, but like immediate, yeah, within the next year, just yeah, working, boring stuff, but building up savings. Um, I do want to do something like my dad did once, which is when he was about my age, he just saved up a couple $1,000s and he went to Europe and just explored Europe for like
Mm.
3 months. And I'd love to do that in South America. Just like take a couple months and just explore, take buses and trains and just, you know, um, check things out. So yeah, that's also something I desire to do, but that'll also be probably something where I save up for it and then come back to the States completely broke. Um, Not the first time I've done that though. With going to Argentina, it was a similar thing. Like spent all my money in Argentina. Now I'm back. So, you know. So yeah,
Uh,
those are some desires of mine.
so real quick, Riker, you did get a couple of comments here.
Okay.
First off, let's see, a band that we play quite regularly, the Scapegoat Band. They said, "Hey there, fam." So how's it going, guys? And then someone that we know quite well, Cindy LaFave says, "Yo,
I just saw
Riker."
that. That's perfect. So not so much a question, but hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Um, yeah, it is really cool to see people that I know, uh, commenting on here.
For
I'm
sure.
sure she probably saw the title of today's uh, live stream. But
Absolutely. So the next thing I got to ask you is on Wednesday we had a missions. I can't even really explain what it was, like a
like a missions
missions
presentation.
presentation, and we had been told for 2 weeks that you were going to speak. So the group that was there gets done, and they're like, "All right, have a good night," and everyone starts leaving. I'm like, um.
Yes.
Did I miss Riker? What happened, bro? Like,
So
I was interested to hear what you had to say about your time in Argentina.
yeah, yeah, they didn't update the slides the Sunday before. I was talking with Pastor Daniel and the team that was going to be presenting, the other team that was presenting,
Hmm.
and I'm like I'd be presenting by myself because it like my whole team and class is all over the world now. Like we're
Right,
totally spread out.
right, right.
So I'd be presenting that whole thing by myself. But this whole presentation, they had the whole night planned out pretty much. Like their whole presentation, and they had slotted a 10-minute uh marker for me like in the middle of their presentation.
Oh,
So I texted them, I'm like, look, I need a little bit more than 10 minutes to present this. I have a lot more content that I will need to get through. And also, I feel bad because, Kelsey, I'm friends with the one of the main gals that was
yeah,
presenting. Um, I felt bad because I'm like, I'm just totally breaking up their presentation. I'm right in the middle, talking about something completely different.
yeah.
Um, you know, so I'm going to be presenting in probably January at one of
Oh,
the
okay.
Life Togethers. So I'll still be presenting. I'll have more time, and so yeah, that'll happen.
Awesome. Yeah, because Juliana and her friend were, as we're riding home, they're like, wasn't Riker supposed to talk? I'm like, I thought so. I have no idea what happened. So,
Yeah, I thought they would when the slide came up on the Sunday before that I was still going to be presenting. Me and Pastor Daniel made eye contact. We were like, "Oops." So,
Oops.
so tell us a little bit about your time in Argentina. Like, what did you do there? Like, I don't even know how much time we have left, but if you want to
it's
just
fine.
share a little bit.
Yeah, so it was a how do I even explain it really? The program I was a part of was called, like I said, the Bilingual Bible Program or BBP. The whole slogan for it is uh discover your calling, deepen your faith, develop your Spanish. So, obviously, cornerstone of it, you're living in Argentina, Spanish-speaking Argentina, on a campus of almost entirely Spanish-speaking people. My class was people from not Spanish-speaking countries coming in to learn it. So there were groups from the US, Germany, Switzerland, Guyana, Canada, Ukraine. Am I missing anything? That's all. That was all the students, the different countries the students were from.
Mhm.
And the team, the BBP team, was like the UK, Germany, Pakistan, Peru, Venezuela. So like all over the place. So super, super cultural. And the campus of Word of Life down there, or Palabra de Vida, um, it was a mixture of all kinds of different cultures, mainly Spanish speaking, like Latin American, but also like I had a bunch of Romanian friends and, you know, just all friends from literally all over the world now. Greece, Romania, UK, Argentina, and Latin American countries like that. So that was really cool experience. And then um, deepen your faith. For the first 3 months we were taking theology classes in English, which was great, along with Spanish classes. Um, then the next 3 months was campamentos, which was camps, kids camps, and so we were just working for 3 months in camps, groups of between 300 and 600 kids every week, every single week for 3 months.
Mm.
So yeah, we were around thousands and thousands of kids at, at the end of that series at that time. And then the last 3 months was theology classes in Spanish exclusively, which
Mm.
was difficult. Very difficult. So that's a very like quick overview of what we did. There were also missions trips through there, especially a big one in Paraguay. We went to Paraguay. We did a huge missions trip there, talked to thousands of kids in the span of a week, not months, but a week. So, yeah, it was really, really good.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that was kind of a really quick overview of it. I met some of my best friends in the world down there now, and they're all over the world. So, yeah, it's really cool. It was a really cool experience.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I honestly can't wait for the life together and to get to hear more about your experiences down there. Um, I know we got to be getting close to time. Jeremy, do you anything you want to ask Riker or talk to Riker
So,
about?
I mean, I know that we got to spend a little time together, the three of us, just a little, what, not even a month ago?
Yeah.
Like, what did you get from that retreat?
Great question.
Hmm. I think from a base like look at it, one of the main reasons I went, because originally I wasn't gonna go. I was working. It was gonna be a pain to like figure out how to get there. But I've been recently, I've been working with the youth and I love working with the youth group and I feel like I have a lot of skills to give there and a passion there. But I've been struggling to have a lot of adult interaction now that I'm technically an adult. And so when I was really thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be there. And so one of the things I enjoyed most about it was spending time with you two and the other guys that were there, just like ministering together and talking about what we were doing there and playing euchre and just like spending time with adults and mature people was such a blessing. Like that was more than I could have asked for. Um, and I'd have to look through my notes again to like actually get a good idea because that was a while ago now, so I don't remember like so much of the specifics of what was talked about. But it was a really beneficial time for me. But I think the main thing that I like really took away from it was some very good quality time with godly men, adults, mature people. Um, that was a huge blessing.
Hmm, absolutely. And I know when you're talking about, mature adult men, you're not talking about us two dorks. So
No, no, I'm talking about you too.
us two are about the farthest thing from it. But
If you would see the conversations we have between the two of us, we are such dorks.
It happens. I
but no, that was a great time, and that was something that I was wondering about how you kind of get in there because you were in that youth group for so long, and now you come back and as an adult, it has to kind of feel weird to you because you're trying to live, in two worlds there. Like, no,
yeah,
I'm an adult man, but I'm hanging out with the
yeah.
teen.
It's been interesting and very good for
Yeah.
me. Pastor Mike has done a great job at making me feel welcome and involved and giving me responsibilities to help lead. I'm leading the junior high small group, so after each like Wednesday night lesson, I'm with the junior hires helping lead
Mm,
them. So that's been really great. But yeah, it's really interesting. And sometimes the desire to be with the youth group and helping lead there and the desire to be with other adults, sometimes they even conflict a little bit because like the other night there was a euchre night at the LaFave's house. Um, someone who was talking in chat just a minute ago. Um, uh, there was a euchre night that started at 6 and a youth event that started at 6. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because I'd been planning on going to this euchre event for like 2 months, and then like a few weeks out, then they told us about the youth event. And I talked to the youth pastor, and I'm like, look, I really want to be there, and if you need me there, I will. But is it okay if I go to the euchre night and hang out with some adults? And he was like, yes, that's totally cool. You need that as well. So I don't feel pressure to like always be with the
yeah.
youth. I want to be and I am involved with them and I take time to be with them, but sometimes I'm also take time to grow with other adults and let them pour into me and teach me and mentor me. So, yeah, it's been a very good
Mm,
experience.
awesome. Yeah. And, if you're looking for a mentor, I don't think you could get much better than Pastor Mike. Like, he is
Seriously. Yeah.
awesome. Like, awesome. But all right, well, I think we have been going for quite a while, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I know we have one more thing to do right after this. So what
Yes.
I'm going to do, Riker, as you know, we always pray for our guests, and you are no different. We pray for you all the time. But how
It's
can
a
we
huge blessing.
specifically pray for you?
Um, right now I'm trying to figure out a direction right now. Um, I'm looking into different career paths. Um, right now I'm managing a restaurant chain or helping as an assistant manager in a restaurant chain, and there's a path that I could go down there. Um, but I don't feel super drawn to it
Yeah,
in a specific way. Um, but I don't know. There are options that I'm looking into, but I'm also looking into trades jobs. I'm looking into um, going to maybe a trade camp or go to trade school, do stuff like that. And I'm also looking into, in the not too distant future, moving out. I live with my parents right now, which is great. I'm super thankful that they're letting me stay here. Um, but I'm wanting to start moving into my own space and, you know, move away from that a little bit. So, um, yeah, that's what I need prayer on right now. Just direction in that way. I feel like a lot of people, including me a lot in the past, will tend to like be hung up on getting a sign from God. Like, God, please
Yeah.
show me, is this your will? Can you show me if this is your will before I do it? And I'm trying to be more, okay, I'm gonna start going. And in the
Yeah.
doing, I pray that God will show me his will. But
Yep.
I'm not just gonna wait on him to, well, I will be waiting on God, obviously, but I'm
Yeah.
not just gonna wait for some cosmic or divine sign. I'm gonna start moving in that direction and see what he has for me. So yeah, prayer in the doing.
Okay.
Absolutely, we can pray for that. And I'll tell you something that another co-host um, on the show, Scott, who you know quite well, he was our small group leader. He uh, he had once told us, because my wife and I at one point were thinking about having another kid, and we were just like, God just needs to put a sign in, like, we need that burning bush, we need, sign in the sky,
Sure.
something telling us what to do. And he had told us, if you are looking for that, you will never get it.
Mm,
God talks to you in those quiet moments when you're
sure.
praying. You need to listen. Talk, but listen. And we started doing that, and he does answer. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's about the best advice I could give you is when you're praying, asking God for these things, listen.
Mm,
Just get quiet for a few minutes and just listen. He will point you in the right direction.
yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pray us out of here.
Okay.
Great and Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing Riker to us. Lord, I don't know how long you intend to keep him with us here, but we thank you for him. We thank you for the talents and skills that he brings to this show. We thank you for the talents and skills that he brings to our teen group, to the church band, to anything he does. Those skills are so important, and we thank you for that, Lord. I ask that you just watch over him and continue to guide him on the path that you want him to be, whether it's, career wise, where you want him to live, even for a future spouse. Lord, you know exactly who you have in that path for him. So I just ask that you continue to watch over her, guard her heart, protect her, and when the time is right, bring her to Riker. Lord, he is such a blessing to so many people, and we do thank you for him. And we also thank you for your son, Jesus, coming here and dying for us on the cross. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
And
Amen.
Well, Riker, thank you so much, my brother.
Thank
Like,
you guys.
I'm not just saying it just to say it. Like, you are a huge blessing to the show, and we are
Thank
so
you.
thankful to have you be part of this.
Mm.
Like, you stepped into this without missing a beat, and it was honestly amazing watching you just like, hey, I'm going to kick off the show, and then just start ripping off questions, and I'm just like, wow, like, this kid's awesome. So, thank you for that.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to be a blessing. And sorry, yeah, tonight I just yapped and yapped. I didn't leave a lot of room for questions, but
Nope.
it's
yeah.
all good. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is what this was all about. We wanted people to get to know who you were.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I just want to remind each and every one of you, and along with you, Riker, that if you're going to rock, rock for him. For those watching, have a good night.
If you like what you saw today, hit the subscribe and like button down below, and don't forget to share it to all your friends. Also, leave us a comment down below. If you're gonna rock, rock for him.